This is one of the greatest wrestling book. It's a catalog of pioneers in the wrestling business, and I recommend it to everybody. I enjoyed it tremendously. And
you heard it direct from the butcher.
That's it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Hello, this is the pioneer of wrestling from 1800s to 1900, and unfortunately, thank God I'm not in here.
You know, back in Memphis, Tennessee, when I was going to Treadwell High School with Jerry the King Lawler, I went into music with a group called the Gentrys. He went into professional wrestling. But my whole life, I really loved the wrestling more than I did the music. When I was in high school, before I met the King, I used to go down to Ellis Auditorium and stand outside and be one of the guys that raised their hands so we could get in each night to sell the popcorn and the Cokes so I could watch Billy Wicks and Sputnik Monroe every night fight for that Cadillac. So finally, after we went on the road with the music, of course, when I'd go to different cities with Dick Clark Promotions, whether it was Florida where I could see the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, or Charlotte where I could see Ric Flair, or some of the other territories, I've just always loved this business. It's just been part of me my whole life. Kevin Sullivan, Rick Rude, Lynn, when I had, first of all, the video said Cornette managed y'all first. I had y'all before Cornette, you know I did. I had the Dirty White Boys, but Terry and Dory Funk, I managed, of course, Terry in Memphis. And there's just so many of them. Terry Taylor was down there with us, but if it wasn't for all the guys that I was able to go to the ring with, whether it was Hogan or Beefcake or the Nasty Boys, the Rougeau Brothers or Earthquake or Typhoon or Greg the Hammer Valentine, the first WrestleMania, you know, to this day, Greg, I love you, Greg. To this day, being part of WrestleMania 3, 93,000 people in Detroit, that was unbelievable. Having the Hall of Fame ring in 2005, great. But still, being part of WrestleMania 1 was so exciting to me because if it hadn't been successful, we probably wouldn't be here today. So I want to thank Vince McMahon for giving me the megaphone. In Memphis, I had the cane, but I wasn't about to take the cane to New York with Mr. Fuji having the cane. You know what would happen to the cane with me then. But the megaphone, Vince brought that back from Japan, and I'll never forget that. But thank you guys so much. You know, about 2.5 years ago, my daughter, Renee Hart, died of cancer, and that's why I really love going out and doing all the stuff that WWE has me doing now with all the cancer drives that we have. And I love going for the troops too, because my son, Jimmy Hart Jr., spent 2 tours, one with the 101st and one with the 82nd, so I love that. So, Crystal, Sue, all y'all guys, thank you guys so much, because I'm telling you, without the guys in this room that I've worked with, and again, I wouldn't be here today. I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so...
Go ahead, Stan, you started.
You're old enough. You're a senior, you
No, I'm not kidding, Stan. Just go ahead and get the damn thing started. Get on down the road. You know, Brody, 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 Brody.
You know, many times I had the fortune to go to the ring with Bruiser Brody, and you know, he was quite a man. And you know, I was lucky enough to be a partner with him for a long time. But everybody, I think, knows in the wrestling business, especially Terry, is that Bruiser was the really smart one. I could go out and go pillar to post and everything else, but Brody was the guy that really understood the business. And, you know, I think people, the young guys that watch his tapes and everything, they can really learn from watching him. He had great psychology. Something that's, I don't know if it's lacking in today's matches, but it's just something that Frank developed. He was constantly thinking what he could do to get the people and to get them back. And get them back next week, and get them back the next week. And that's hard when you go week to week to week to week. And Brody was really a master at that. So, you know, I just want to, you know, it's really nice to be able to get up here, especially with somebody who started me in the business, Terry Funk. And he knew Frank a long time too. And we all went to West Texas at one time. And Terry Funk, he has a lot of good to say about Bruiser Brody.
I certainly do. I don't think that there's ever been such a friggin' tragedy as what happened to Bruiser Brody. And why did it happen to him? He was not a good worker, he was a tremendous worker. He suspended disbelief so well that he died for it. He died for it. That's how ridiculous that got down there in that area at that time. I have never been back to that area since that date, and I have no intention of going.
Yeah!
I have great respect for Carlos Colon, but I don't have respect for their country's rules and regulations and way they treat people that have done the wrong things and how they do so many other things to let them go. I loved him. I love Bruiser Brody. He was one of the toughest guys that I have ever known. He came originally from Iowa State to West Texas State, where we played football together. And he was an amazing guy. He'd come down there and he was absolutely crazy, and he would disrupt the entire team. I was on the first team, he was red-shirted on the third team, and Bruiser would disrupt it by just tearing a hole in the line or whatever he had to do. And he would do it every day. And he was just about as tough of a guy as I ever met in my entire life. And then Bruiser, you know, is a little crazy too, because he got kicked out of Iowa State and came to West Texas, and then he was down at West Texas, and one night he came into the dormitory, the athletes' dormitory, and he decided he was going to get an axe and cut down a cherry tree in the front yard of the dormitory. So he got the axe, and he took it out there and he chopped the entire cherry tree down. Then he went back to his room and nobody saw him. Nobody knew it was Bruiser Brody. The coach next day came out to a team meeting and he said, "I want to know who cut down that cherry tree." And I guess Bruiser Brody thought he was George Washington or something, and he was never going to tell a lie, but he said, coach, he says, "I chopped down that cherry tree." And the coach said, "All right, Bruiser, you're going to have to leave us in." And that was the end of Bruiser Brody at West Texas State University. But I'm going to tell you something else. You know where he showed up next? Where does Bruiser Brody show up next? I haven't seen Bruiser Brody and all this time, and all of a sudden, he appears. Where does he appear? He appears in Odessa, Texas. You know, where they have all of the oil now. Odessa, the middle of Texas. Anyhow, Bruiser's down there in Odessa, Texas, and what she's doing? He becomes the head sports writer at the Odessa Times. I can't believe it. And this guy just kept on doing things and doing things. He was a tremendous performer, and I am absolutely telling you the honest to God truth. It cost him his life, his performance did. He went ahead and he performed so well and so believable. And I'll tell you what, there's two people that I admire in the business, that I love, that I thought were great performers, in-ring wrestlers. That was Johnny Valentine and Bruiser Brody. Why? Because they not only suspended our belief, and they not only suspended the fans' belief, but they suspended the wrestlers' beliefs too. These guys were the greatest. And believe me, they weren't Circus Olay. They were wrestlers. And you guys all follow me on that. And I love that. I love him with all of my heart. I love him with all of my heart. And I have never been back, and I will never go ahead and go back for those people. I will not go back, and they are not at fault, but it's just something in my heart that I can't do. And I thank you people, and I thank you for even remembering, because it's been a long time, and that boy was a great in-ring performer. He drew so much money in Japan. Dick Byers sitting right out there, right there. And he'll tell you the same damn thing. The guy drew money because of his belief ability. And because his ability to convince us all that everything is real. And he did that.
And aren't we all different? I mean, I look around this room and there's some strange shit out here.
Go for it.
If you want to really learn about the lineage of professional wrestling, start right here with this book, right here. Pioneers of Professional Wrestling. Good God.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Breeze tonight. It's great to be in your company. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces. And again, I want to echo what everyone else has said. Looking around the room and seeing guys that you totally marked out for, and now they know your name. It's pretty cool. But this award is the Jason Sanderson Humanitarian Award. And I get to talk about Dallas as a person and as a real friend to me. And I'm going to try to make it short because God knows we don't want this show to run long. About 2.5 years ago, a little over 2.5 years ago, my lifestyle, I had partied myself into heart failure, and I was in a wheelchair when Dallas and Jake met me at the airport in Atlanta. Dallas extended an invitation to come stay with him and Jake at his crib in Atlanta. And I'm thinking, rehab again, or try something else? And I tried something else. Like I said, 2.5 years ago, I was in a wheelchair. 1 year later, I glided across the stage and stepped into the WWE Hall of Fame. Just a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of being involved in the finish of one of the main events at WrestleMania 31. And I owe all those things and the things that lie down the road for me in the future to my friend, Diamond Dallas Page.
Okay, hold on. That was a lot more emotional than I thought I was going to get there. I am truly humbled and honored to be here tonight. And I want to thank my good buddy Scott for welcoming me up here. And my boy Jake, I mean the two of those guys. The ride that we've been on was pretty wild. It was so gratifying, man. I'm so proud of those two guys, I can't even explain it. Getting to induct Jake into the Hall of Fame on my 58th birthday, and Scott going into the Hall of Fame on my birthday. There could never have been a greater birthday present. I want to thank my DDP Yoga Performance Center team for putting together that video, because you got me. Oh, hell did you get me. I also want to thank, I got people who came from all over the country, members of Team DDP Yoga out there.
That's how it goes.
Hey, this is it, and I'm not kidding you, it's the pioneers of wrestling. And this is yesteryear's range. This is whenever guys averaged 180 pounds, and that was a heavyweight, 180 pounds. And I'll tell you what, you watch this, you read it, you're gonna love it. Watch it. How in the hell are you gonna watch it? Well, you turn the page and look at the pictures.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
I'm JJ Dillon, and I have my copy, Pioneers of Professional Wrestling by Tim Corbin. If you're interested in the history of professional wrestling, you need to pick up a copy of this.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I owe you one.
Listen, this is the greatest book I've ever read. Pioneers of Professional Wrestling by Timmy, my favorite guy. Listen, if you don't get this book, you know nothing about wrestling. That's the good news. The bad news is, if you don't get this book, I'm coming in, kicking down your door, turning you upside down, and shaking out the money. You can either do it as Luthez used to say, we can do this the hard way or the easy way. It's your choice.
I brought a paper up because I didn't want to forget about anybody, but I do want to thank the CAC for including me in such a great, talented group of women this year. Beth Phoenix, who I was married to with Tracy Brooks on the Independence when I first started with Ron. Thank you so much. And Lisa Marie, I worked with in WWE all those years, and she was my road buddy, so thank you for being my sister, basically, in the first half of my career. And Malaya Hosaka as well. I don't know where she is tonight, but I know she was honored as well. And Nora had told me, Molly Holly, as you guys all know her as, told me that she gave her break in this business. And that's the next person I want to thank is Nora. Molly Holly, she met Beth Phoenix and I at a WrestleMania Fan Access in Toronto, and she met us and she was very giving, and she was the first person on that level, on a television level, that I met. And she was my favorite wrestler because I always watched her and I thought, wow, she's so graceful in the ring and she was just so athletic, and that's what I really admired about the girls at that time. Trish Stratus, Victoria back then, Ivory, Jazz, so many to name. And Nora had told us, you know, you have such a great look and you have something different to offer. So, you know, give me your photos and your video and I'll see what I can do. And I was just so amazed that someone could be so giving and such a great human being, and she continued to be that person the whole time that I knew her. And she called me before I came here. And she doesn't really watch wrestling or, you know, kept up with the business, but she called to thank me or tell me thank you for everything you've done in the business and congratulate me. So Thanks, Nora. I appreciate everything you've done, so let's give her a round of applause. And also, Ron mentioned Tracy Brooks, who I was also married to at the very beginning. I didn't know what to expect when I first walked into a wrestling school. And I expected to see China when I first walked in. And I met Tracy, and she was the most friendly and nice and welcoming girl. And, you know, that's what I was used to. And I've been so lucky to work with such great women my whole entire career. So thank you for all the ladies. Kia's here tonight, Awesome Kong, as you guys know her as. Thank you so much for everything you've given to me. Our views that we put women's wrestling back on the map, I feel like. So thank you. And I know a lot of people don't expect me to probably thank WWE, but I am going to thank them for giving me 2 opportunities in my career, and also for making me a stronger woman today. I want to thank Jeff Jarrett and Scott Demore and Terry Taylor right here tonight. Terry, I don't know if you remember, but when I was first in TNA and I sat there on the sidelines managing for about 1.5 years, and you guys had promised me that you would start a women's division, and it never happened. And then a lot of people don't know, but I sent in my resignation 1.5 years into my contract the first time. And Terry had threatened to sue me if I tried to leave my contract. So I'm really grateful that you did that, because I think it was a couple of weeks later that Jeff asked me, do you think you can work with Jacqueline Moore? And I said, I can work with anyone, just bring her in. And the Knockouts division was basically born overnight and was very successful, and it is to this day. So I thank you very much for everything you've done for me. And I'd like to also thank Dixie Carter and Impact Wrestling for giving me my opportunity twice, and also for always believing in me and giving me the ball and let me run with it, and really believing in all the girls and giving us, or believing that we had the capability to not just wrestle, but be the main event on the show and just give what we wanted to give and steal the show from the guys, and we still do this to this day, so I'm so thankful to Impact Wrestling. And lastly, I want to thank my husband, Robert Irvine, who many of you guys know. He couldn't be here tonight. He wanted to be here, but in a business that's so hard sometimes for our significant others, I just want to thank him for being so supportive in everything I've ever done, and for loving me, and just for being that support when I was feeling so down and never believed in myself. He's always been there, and my motivation and my inspiration for me from day one, so thanks. Robert, and lastly, I would like to thank all the women in this room who have paved the road for myself and Beth and many of the others, because without you guys, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today, and receiving this award from CAC, so thank you.
We really hit each other. So now everybody started going out on the road, going their different ways, and I was called to go to Honolulu, Hawaii, and work for Mrs. Maivia, who I love Mrs. Maivia, by the way. And I didn't have any wrestling taste. So
I'm here to pick up the Iron Mike Award. Larry the Axing, if you would get off of your rear end and walk up this direction, I would be very, very happy to present this to you, because there is not a person involved in wrestling that deserves it any more than you do.
Harley, I gotta tell you something. I never had a problem with you till I started driving with you. We went to Australia and that made it double bad because it was on the other side of the road and we survived. But Harley, we had 447 matches, tag team matches that we defended our title and we won. 447 matches. Harley was I was in the real estate business. I built him a house in Maple Grove. We wrote it out on a napkin. When we got finished, the house didn't have any closets. But he got over that. I think there's a couple things that you should know that's very important. That Bobby Heenan has an all-black dog and he named him Spot. I thought that would be of some interest. And I'd like to, Carl Clayman, that we kind of have a set of words about the George Trojan and Luthez Wrestling Hall of Fame, where Harley Race and myself are in the Hall of Fame. My son Kurt is in the Hall of Fame. We were the first father and son. That's a great honor because Luthez and Harley Race and some other fellows, but Carl Klingman is the guy that makes it work, and he's really a great guy, okay? I got people were calling me the killer. Every time I go to a new territory, they call me the killer. But it was because of, well, not my wrestling, but I killed the territory.
How about the individuals?
You know, Las Vegas, when I get up over 5,000 feet in the air, I can't pee. But don't tell anybody about this, please. So we landed in Las Vegas, and I had to head for the door and down the concourse, down the hallway, and I made it there. So I know where the slogan comes. If you do something in Las Vegas, no one will tell anybody about it. So that's some more good information. I want to hear yippee-i-oh. Come on, yippee-i-oh. Yippee-i-yay. And old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way. When all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, plowing through the ragged sky. And up a cloudy draw.
Yippee-i-oh, yippee-i-oh.
Those riders in the sky. God bless you. One more thing. My prayer is, everything I do for you today, Lord, I do for you. Please, Lord, give me some damn thing to do. I want to know where my KC crew is. I see Harley here, but I would like to see Kirsten and Tom and the Geigle girls. I know they're out there somewhere. Where are you? Well, all I know is that we sure do miss Bob, and that's for certain. We loved him. He was a great member. He was here every year, and just a great guy that we're going to miss. And it just seems like there's more and more that are leaving us every year. Talk about Bob. He was a tough guy too, you know, and talk about tough guys. The Midwest put him out. Henning, Race, Geigel, Gagne, Gunkel, the Briscoes, Hodge, Hutton, Jim Ross, Jim Ross. That was a different paragraph. I can tell that voice anywhere.
Oh my God. Forget the notes today, baby. I gotta tell you, I was writing down this speech because, you know, last night was something I really wanted to come from the heart, from A to Z, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, you can remember what people, they say you won't remember what they say, they'll remember what you made them feel. And that's what was so important to me last night. So this is like the biggest moment in my life as far as being accepted by my peers, to be brought in and having Jake Roberts pull me in. You know, Dusty Rhodes was supposed to be here because of personal reasons he couldn't. Dusty Rhodes, without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. You know, he gave me every break I got early on in my life. You know, but when I tried to wrestle when I was 22 and it didn't work out for me, I got my first opportunity to run a nightclub. And it was a small bar, you know, rock and roll, and I got pulled into the booze, the broads, and the party. Nothing bad with that. But I forgot about the dream. And I was like 78, 79, 80, all of a sudden, wrestling in the 80s takes off. And I'm like, oh my God, I was right there. Why didn't I just stick with the dream? I could have been in the middle of it all. It pissed me off so bad I stopped watching wrestling. And then one night, I'm flicking the channels and I see this guy. And he's got these wild glasses, do-rag, he's got the boa on. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Jesse Ventura. I'm like, whoa. Did he just call Vince McMahon an idiot? Oh my God. So I'm watching, I'm intrigued, and then who's the next guy to come through the curtain? 6'6", long hair, rock and roll stud looking dude, got a bag over his, what's he got a bag over his back for? So I'm watching him and he gets in that ring and man, he does his thing, he hits that DDT, whoa! I'm like, okay, I'm hooked back in. So I start watching, and by this time I got a big nightclub down in Southwest Florida, Fort Myers, Florida. And we got monitors just so you can see where people are coming in, you know, with cash registers, and then people where they're going out. So I'm back in the office, I'm doing some paperwork or whatever, and I look at the monitor. I think, damn, that guy looks like Jake Snake Roberts. So I come running around the outside of the building, I come up to the front door, I go, Betsy, did the guy in here just walk in look like Jake Roberts? She goes, yeah, Paige. She goes, I think it's him. I go, I'm zooming around the corner. I see him, I slow way down. Gotta be cool, right? So I walk up and I go, you Jake Roberts? He's like, yeah, I am. I said, let's have a drink. From there on, Jake and I became drinking buddies, if you can imagine that. And of course, he didn't pay for any cocktails because he got some mark who runs the joint. So we're in Fort Myers, Florida, so any of the guys coming from Tampa to Miami now have a new watering hole. Everybody come through there one time or another. So one night I'm getting ready to close the bar down, and I'm just breaking the money drawer. And one of my bartenders, there's Smokey, I'm getting his drawer from him, and I see her playing Girls Just Want to Have Fun on the video. And I'm just looking at that. I say to myself, man, rock and wrestling, I should have been a part of that. And I walk into the office, and Smokey heard me say it. So now we're all sitting in the back drinking. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. And he says, hey, Paige J, what do you mean rock and wrestling? What do you mean you should have been a part of that? I said, well, I tried it when I was a kid. He goes, you tried to be a wrestler? I said, yeah, I did. He said, what was your name? I said, Handsome Dallas Page. He went, woo, you can forget about that gimmick anymore. Yeah, right. So now we're drinking heavily. We're in for a couple hours there. Money's all cash. And I I can't get that thing out of my head, you know? So I said, you know, I'm too old to be a wrestler. I was 31 and a half. I said, I'm too old to be a wrestler. I said, what if I changed my name to Diamond Dallas Page and I was a manager? And it was like, woo, yeah, shot, drink. And I said, you know, Jimmy Hart, he's got the Hart Foundation. I could have the Diamond Exchange and woo, shot, drink. And I said, you know, there's a lot of girls in wrestling, and a lot of them, you know, are pretty wholesome looking. You know, Miss Elizabeth, beautiful, very wholesome. I said, but what if I had a whole stable of ladies and I called them Diamond Dolls and they were stripper hot? So he goes, oh, that'd be a stretch. And the Diamond Dolls, I'm having fun. I'm just drinking. That's all I'm doing. But I'm writing it all down. And about 3 days later, I did all the radio spots for the club. And 3 days later, this Party News Network calls me up. And they say, you know, we want to do a story behind you. And, you know, I would imitate Macho Man. I might have him on the spot, see he didn't know it. You know, I'd be pulling different, you know, synthesizer type voices. And they said they wanted.
His career was cut short because of injury, and God knows how big it would have become. It was big as it was, and how long it would have gone. But what he accomplished in the time he had made him worthy of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to introduce Edge.
So, I am here to introduce Beth Phoenix. And I have to preface this by saying if I don't get this right, I'm going to get my ass kicked in the hotel room tonight. So I took some notes, which I don't usually do. You see, I'm really proud to do this, not only because she's my partner and the mother of my child, but also because Beth Phoenix, she wasn't a diva, she wasn't a model, she was a wrestler.
Yeah.
So here's what she did to become a wrestler. She saw Owen Hart versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. Owen was her guy. And she said, that's what I'm going to do. So she joined the Notre Dame High School wrestling team, the boys team, and beat the boys. That's Beth Phoenix. From there, she decided that she would train for wrestling under the watchful and very talented eye of Ron Hutchison, who also trained me. And from there, she decided to not throw away her criminal justice degree and her cushy government job, but she took a chance. She decided that she was going to go to Louisville, Kentucky. She put her German Shepherd Sonia and all of her belongings in a Geo Prism and drove to Louisville, Kentucky to try and get a developmental contract. Just on the chance of that. After a year, she did. And then after another year, she made it to the big show. She made it to Raw. And in her second match, she broke her jaw. She got surgery, got a plate put in her face, and got sent back down to OVW for another year. She scratched, she clawed, she made it back to the big show, and the Glamazon was born. Once the Glamazon was born, she changed history. I'd like to look out into this audience and see women that I know she influenced. I know she cut a different path. She wasn't a model, she wasn't a diva. Like I said, she was a wrestler and she made a difference. She was a diva of doom. She wrestled matches. She's what I like to call in the wrestling industry, maybe I didn't make this up, I don't know, but she's a three-tool player. She looked the part, she acted the part, she wrestled the part. There was a reason that she was with Santino Marella and played the straight woman. She could do it. They needed someone to make sure that Maria Menounos was safe at WrestleMania. she got the call. She wrestled every woman who came through that industry that probably didn't deserve to be there. Not all of them, but some of them, and she made them look like gold. She was more concerned with headlocks than hair extensions, with burning hammers than burnt sienna lipstick. And I am very proud to be standing here to introduce the glamazon Beth Phoenix, the mother of my child, more importantly than anything, and also a woman who I'd like to mention that for this industry, because she loved it, when she blew out her ACL, rather than go get the surgery, she said, I'd like to drop the title in my hometown of Buffalo, and wrestled a handicap match, lifted 2 women on her shoulders, and Simone dropped them in the middle of the ring with a blown out ACL. Here's where I get my notes. She's a 1-time Divas champion, 3 times women's champion, Slammy for Diva of the Year, 2nd woman to enter the Royal Rumble, 2nd most pay-per-view matches in history for a woman, 297 appearances on Raw. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the glamour mom, Beth Phoenix.
Crowds, like, why are you so nervous tonight? And you know, it's just when I was performing in front of everybody, I was kind of in my garb, in my costume, and I had that tiara, which gave me, the power of no self-conscious feelings. And in front of this room full of people, I see my peers and everybody that I wanted so badly to be respected, and I wanted you guys to be proud of me more than anything else. So that's where the nerves come from. I care in the sense of community and culture here and everything that the CAC represents, gathering us all together and just sharing stories and feeling wonderful about the business that everybody contributed to. And